Erwin Johannes Eugen Rommel was born on November 15, 1891, in Heidenheim an der Brenz, a town in the Kingdom of Württemberg, part of the German Empire. He was the third of 5 children. His father, Erwin Rommel Sr., was a schoolmaster. His mother, Helene von Luz, was from a family involved in civil service administration. From a young age, Rommel showed a love for the outdoors: cycling, hiking, skiing. Academics were not his strongest suit, but he was industrious and disciplined. The family tradition was civic service, not military, yet by 1910, at age 18, Rommel joined the 124th Württemberg Infantry Regiment as an officer cadet. In November 1911, he graduated from the cadet school and in January 1912 was commissioned as a lieutenant. When World War I began in 1914, Rommel was a junior officer in the German army. He saw action in France, Romania, and Italy. He earned a reputation for courage and for leading from the front. One of the most noted episodes came during the Italian front, especially the Battle of Caporetto, 1917, where his leadership and daring in mountain warfare won him respect. By late 1917, he was awarded Pour le Mérite, Germany's highest military decoration in World War I, for his exploits. Throughout the war, Rommel was wounded several times. His wartime experiences shaped many of his beliefs about small unit leadership, initiative, speed, surprise, and the physical and mental endurance of soldiers. After the armistice in November 1918, he remained in what would become the Reichswehr, the post-war German army limited by the Versailles Treaty. The interwar years were difficult: economic hardship, political instability, and for many officers, adapting to reduced roles. Rommel served in various units, was involved in internal security duties during the chaotic early Weimar period, e.g., unrest, riots, and strikes, and gradually accepted roles in military instruction. Rommel was not originally part of the political inner circles of Nazi Germany. However, as the German military was rebuilt under Hitler in the 1930s, he benefited from the expansion, rearmament, and promotions that accompanied Hitler's rise. He wrote a book, Infantry Greift an, 1937, translated often as Infantry Attacks, drawing upon his World War I experience. In this book, he laid out his tactical ideas: swift infantry assault, using infiltration, small unit leadership, morale, attacking unexpected points, and making use of terrain and surprise. These ideas would inform his later campaigns. In 1938, after Germany annexed Austria, the Anschluss, Rommel was made commandant of the officers' school in Wiener Neustadt, near Vienna. By then, Hitler was consolidating power. Rommel had met Hitler and had come to be known personally in Nazi circles. But Rommel remained foremost a soldier rather than a political actor. When World War II broke out in September 1939, Rommel did not initially hold a major command in the field. But in early 1940, he was given command of the 7th Panzer Division. Despite having no prior experience with armored tank warfare, he quickly learned and adapted. During the German invasion of France in May-June 1940, Rommel's 7th Panzer Division earned the nickname the Ghost Division, Die Gespenster Division, because of its speed, surprise, aggressive advances, and sometimes unpredictability. Rommel personally scouted forward lines, often exposing himself to danger. He combined infantry, tanks, and mechanized units to exploit weak points in enemy lines. His division advanced through difficult terrain and cut off Allied units, contributing to large encirclements and disorder in the French defenses. His performance in France raised his reputation among German high command and also earned notice abroad. He won more honors and was promoted. In February 1941, Rommel was sent to Libya to command the Afrika Korps, sent by Hitler to assist Italy, whose forces were struggling against the British in North Africa. The conditions were harsh: desert heat, supply difficulties, long distances, challenging terrain, unreliable infrastructure. Yet Rommel had a combination of boldness, audacity, and improvisation. He pushed British and Commonwealth forces back, seized ports, won battles at Tobruk, Mechili, Bardia, Derna, and more. He often used armored thrusts, flanking maneuvers, feints, surprise, and rapid movement, sometimes bypassing points rather than attacking them head-on. One of his significant operations was Operation Venezia, launched May 26, 1942, during the Battle of Gazala. He attempted to encircle British forces at Bir Hakeim using his mobile forces. The operation demonstrated his ability to use combined arms, coordination, and surprise. His successes earned him both acclaim at home and respect from opponents. The British dubbed him the Desert Fox, der Wüstenfuchs in German, because of his cunning maneuvers. Rommel's strategic aim, under Hitler's orders, was to push toward Egypt and secure the Suez Canal, a prize of tremendous strategic importance, as control would influence supply routes, colonial lines, and access to the Middle East. Despite the early victories, Rommel's campaign faced increasing strain. The Desert War placed huge burdens on logistics: supply of fuel, ammunition, spare parts, reinforcements. The Axis supply lines were long and tenuous, especially across Libya. The British, with better naval and air support and more stable supply lines, began strengthening their positions. The Second Battle of El Alamein, fought from late October to early November 1942, was a major turning point. Under British General Bernard Montgomery, the Eighth Army launched a well-prepared and resourced offensive. Rommel's forces, though skillfully handled, were overstretched, with insufficient reserves and stretched supply lines. They could not stop the Allied push. The defeat forced a retreat across Libya into Tunisia. In Tunisia, Rommel attempted defensive operations, but was ultimately unable to reverse the momentum. By May 1943, the Axis forces in North Africa surrendered. Rommel was evacuated earlier, but the loss was irreversible. After his recall from North Africa, Rommel was assigned in 1943 to oversee the defenses of the French coast, Atlantic Wall, against the anticipated Allied invasion. He was made Inspector of Coastal Defenses, promoted to Field Marshal. Rommel believed the Allies would land somewhere along the northern French coast. He advocated fortifying many possible landing sites rather than concentrating defenses in one place. He also pushed for greater use of mobile reserve forces that could respond quickly. However, he often clashed with other German commanders and with Hitler over strategy, resources, and the flexibility of command. He thought the defense was spread too thin. Hitler insisted on rigid control and adherence to orders. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces invaded Normandy, D-Day. Rommel was not present on the beaches, but was responsible for the overall defense. The invasion achieved surprise, and Allied superiority in air, naval, and logistical support began to limit what Rommel could do. He was deeply concerned about the defenses and believed that without strong mobile reserves, the Germans could not stop the advance. In mid-July 1944, on July 17th, Rommel was severely injured in an air attack near Livarot, France. His staff car was strafed by Allied aircraft, leaving him with serious injuries to his head and arm. He spent many weeks recovering and was not fully active in command during the critical late summer of 1944. As the war turned against Germany, Rommel's view of Hitler altered. He expressed doubts privately about the Führer's strategic decisions, especially the failure to heed warnings about overstretched fronts, lack of reserves, and failing supply lines. Some of his military colleagues, who were involved in the July 20, 1944 plot to assassinate Hitler, saw Rommel as someone who might support change, though it is not clear he was directly involved in the assassination attempt. Because of his fame and general popularity, even among many German officers and the German public, Hitler was reluctant to prosecute him publicly. Instead, on October 14, 1944, two German generals came to Rommel's home in Herrlingen, near Ulm. He was offered a choice: to stand trial for treason, something that would endanger him and his family, or to commit suicide. To protect his family, Rommel opted to take his own life by cyanide. He died that same day, age 52. The Nazi government announced that he died of wounds received in France. He was buried with full military honors on October 18, 1944, near his home. Hitler declared a day of national mourning. Only after the war did more details come out confirming he was forced to commit suicide to avoid a public trial. Rommel married Lucia Maria Mollin in 1916. Their only child, Manfred Rommel, was born in December 1928. He was known among his soldiers for being earnest, courageous, always at the front where he believed he could best see what was happening. He was not a big fan of pomp or show. He preferred to sharpen his own judgment, observe conditions personally, be hands-on. Rommel's relationship with Hitler was complex. In the early years, Rommel benefited from Hitler's favor, especially after successes in France and North Africa. But as the war dragged on, Rommel increasingly disagreed privately with strategic decisions made by Hitler or by Hitler's inner circle, especially when these decisions ignored the realities on the ground. Supply shortages, lack of mobility, overextension of forces. Rommel's professional judgment often clashed with ideological or political decisions. Rommel has been admired by many, even by former enemies, for his tactical skill, personal courage, leadership by example, and for treating many prisoners decently. However, there are debates among Rommel's strategic-level decision-making, decisions affecting entire campaigns or long-term logistics, was less effective than his tactical brilliance on smaller scales. Others point out that his successes often depended on circumstances, sometimes weaker opponents, logistical support from allies, e.g. Italians, or periods when the British forces were unprepared or dispersed. Also, despite his reputation, Rommel was not free from the shortcomings of the German command structure. Hitler's interference, poor supply chains, lack of unified command, ideological priorities over military prudence. Rommel's image after the war became part of what some call the Rommel myth, a view that he was an almost chivalrous, apolitical military genius. Historians now try to recover a more nuanced view, a man of great capability, but also one constrained by the political, logistical, and moral complexities of fighting for Nazi Germany. Rommel's story offers several takeaways. He illustrates how leadership, bravery, and personal example can inspire troops in adversity. He shows the limits even of military genius when political ideology, logistics, and strategic oversight are weak or dysfunctional. He embodies the complicated moral territory of leaders who serve regimes with deeply problematic causes. How much can one separate professional duty from political responsibility? Erwin Rommel died on October 14, 1944, at Herrlingen, choosing suicide by cyanide over trial. He was given a state funeral. The Nazi regime reported that he died of wounds from combat to protect public morale. After the war, historians have uncovered the truth. Though he fought for Germany, and under a regime responsible for vast crimes, Rommel remains a figure of fascination because he combined professional military skill, personal bravery, and a measure of integrity in difficult circumstances. His successes, failures, and moral ambiguities make him a powerful example for understanding the complexity of leadership, especially in war.